Commander Gladden, and especially Nancy for having our family here tonight. And a special thank you also to Tamara, who's been helping us since we arrived from Maine, and the boys think is total rock star because she's let them have ginger ale and room service. And Lyndall said it was the fanciest hotel he's ever been to because they have shower caps. So when my husband deployed, first time he was ever going to deploy for as long as he did, for 13 months, and the first time he was going to deploy when we weren't living in a fleet concentration area, which other times he had deployed from Jacksonville, Florida, and as many of you know who have been in the military, when one goes, hundreds of them go, and you have a built-in support system. When Dustin was leaving from Bangor, Maine, I wondered if anybody in the community would understand what we were going through and would we be forgotten. But mostly for selfish reasons, I decided that I didn't want to be alone at dinner time because I knew that that was the hardest time when Dustin deployed the first 2 times. And so out of selfish motivation in the beginning, I said that we were going to invite someone to fill his seat. And it wasn't a thing yet. I just meant that as it struck me, as I wanted to, that we would invite teachers or neighbors or our friends. But very quickly it started snowballing because the boys said, can we invite a mayor? Can we invite a congressman? Can we invite Senator Collins? And it started taking off beyond what I ever thought it would be. But it began very simply with having one person come and sit in my husband's empty chair while he was deployed to keep us company at least for one dinner out of each week. Week by week, though, what I realized was happening was that we were teaching the people who came and sat in my husband's chair about what it means to be a military family. I think so many of us have seen in the media the teary goodbyes and the homecomings on the pier. But week by week, we were teaching people from our community about all the days in between, about the ordinary Sundays when military families are without their loved one and they're sitting at the dinner table. And that was a peek at military life that a lot of people, especially in my part of the country, were not aware of. So what began for selfish reasons of not wanting to be alone, quickly I realized was turning into that we were educating people about what it meant to be a military family. And some of our guests, many of them are here tonight. I know Senator Collins and Senator King had to leave early for another function, but Congressman Michoud is still here. And many of them expressed how profound it was for them to sit in Dustin's chair. And in fact, some of our guests said, I don't think I can sit in Dustin's chair, I'll sit in this chair. But Lyndall would say, no, 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 it's the rules. You have to sit in my dad's chair or it's not dinner with the Smileys. The whole point is his chair can be empty. But later some of our dinner guests would write me and they would say how emotional it was for them and how they couldn't get it off their mind in the weeks that followed after their dinner. And what it meant for them to sit in a service member's chair and look at his family and talk to them about their school day and their week and realize that there was a man halfway across the country who would give anything to be doing that right then, but wouldn't be able to for another year or many more months. And so it really made it real for our guests about what sacrifice truly is for military families. And then about 16 dinners in, I learned another lesson from Dinner with the Smileys. At our 17th dinner, with our elderly neighbor who'd gone to assisted living, she died unexpectedly before the dinner. And it taught me a lesson about not waiting to reach out to people in our community who are alone. And we ended up accidentally after that having dinner at her assisted living facility in her honor with a man and his wife who had Alzheimer's. And at that dinner, the man who did not have Alzheimer's was holding his wife's hand. And he started to cry, and he told me that he understood what I meant when I talked about being lonely at dinner, because even though he wasn't in the military, and he had his wife right there beside him, for the last 2 years he'd been eating dinner alone every night because his wife had Alzheimer's. And it occurred to me then at that dinner, 17 dinners into Dinner with the Smileys, that loneliness isn't military families alone. We get a lot of it. But there are a lot of people in our communities who are alone at dinner time. The elderly, empty nesters, college students, widows and widowers, and we had representatives from all of those demographics at our dinners, because after dinner 17 we realized that we had another mission, was to reach out to all the lonely people in our community and invite them to dinner. In fact, sometimes our dinner guests didn't want to leave, and we realized that it was because they were probably going home to an empty house. So Dinner with the Smileys had many facets to it, but the most important to us always was letting people know what it meant to be a military family and how they can help military families. The boys were so excited to have Congressman Michoud here. I have to tell you how cute this is, that Lyndall, because he was so young when we were doing Dinner with the Smileys, I think there's some confusion for him about who we knew before and who we didn't, and even who is family and who is not family. I think he thinks Congressman Michoud is probably his uncle, and he's not. But he has continued, Congressman Michoud has continued to write handwritten letters to the boys at random times throughout the years, has remembered things about them, that they like baseball or what grade they're in and things like that. And it showed me, because there were many times in the project where I wanted to quit. Because not only were we educating people week by week about what it meant to be a military family, we were also week by week showing people what the Smiley family is really like. The good, bad, and the 5-year-old Lyndall. And it didn't always go over very well. There were a lot of timeouts during the dinners. There was a lot of me yelling at people and tears. And I almost quit because I thought maybe we're making a fool out of ourselves. Maybe people are going home and saying, oh my gosh, those kids are out of control, or oh my gosh, she's really doesn't have the parenting thing down. But what I found, that by being genuine and honest and vulnerable about what we were going through, all of it, that it really brought people closer to us, like Congressman Michoud, who saw the difficulties that the boys were going through, and he realized that they needed someone, sort of a father figure, to be there reaching out to them through their dad's deployment. And so many other people whose names you wouldn't know, just policemen and firemen and other military people and artists and musicians that had come and sat in Dustin's chair and reached out to the boys to help them through that time. So it was a very special year for our family, and something that the boys, I know, or I hope, will never forget. And when I got the call that we were going to be awarded this award, I had to ask several times, really, me? Because I always felt like it was just dinner. It seemed so simple. So I'm honored to have this project awarded, and our family honored in this way, and military families recognized in this way. And I truly see it as that people understanding and knowing what military families, the kids especially, go through when they have a parent who's in the military, and for spouses that have someone who's serving overseas. So I thank you for taking our little dinner time project, as I've always felt like it was, and honoring like this. This has been a big day for the boys, a big week, and something, again, that they'll never forget. So thank you for having us here and honoring us with this, and for including the boys as well. So I'd like to have them come up also.
No, you